Hey, what's up guys? My name is Moda and welcome back to the Mining Stacker YouTube channel. Today's video gonna give an update on that goals video I had done at the beginning of the year. So far Q1 is done. So we're gonna go over just different things that have worked well, things that I have been doing, things that I haven't been doing, and just kind of give an overall update and what I'm looking forward to, right? A lot of stuff has happened. Again, things in crypto move so fast that in just 3 months, it's like a whole different world essentially, right? So I'm going to kind of recap and just go through my thoughts and opinions on things and see where we're going, right? See how things are looking and set up goals for the next quarter, right? So if that sounds good, guys, stay tuned, all right? So let's get to it. So the biggest thing that I had mentioned in that goals video, the number one goal was to accumulate, right? Accumulate hard, keep it going, especially with these cheaper prices, just get at it. So far, that portion has not gone to plan, right? We can look at the Bitcoin chart pretty much year to date. It's been up only, right? It's pretty crazy. This is definitely not what I was expecting, not in the plans. It's nice to see though, right? But again, I wanted cheaper Bitcoin, cheaper crypto in general, right? So whether or not this will sustain, we will find out, right? Is this going to be the new range? Are we going to go lower? Are we going to go higher? It's really hard to tell, but for me, since the beginning of the year, I have not bought any of the major coins. As a matter of fact, I have not really bought any coins at all whatsoever, right? I did buy aggressively back in November, back during those dips. Same with even these popular GPU mineable coins. I bought my bag back in October. And if anything, the only thing I kind of have been doing is I've been taking profits, right? And certain things, it depends on the coin, right? Certain coins I'm going to hold no matter what just because the price is too, like, aggressive, I guess you can say, right? Certain things I was kind of swing trading, like Caspa. I was kind of swing trading on the ups and downs, but ever since the beginning of the year, pretty much, it's been up only. I stopped doing that. And I'm to the point now where it's just, I'm going to be holding, right? Ideally, in a perfect world, we hopefully do start getting some dips, maybe sometime in the summer, maybe it's not till the winter time, but even if we don't, I'm okay with that. I accumulated my bags back then. If I don't get anything cheaper, I'm okay with that, right? The only thing I guess you can kind of say I'm DCing is now that I do have my big boy miners, the ASICs that I got in that I pre-ordered back then. I do have them all in. They are all up and running. And that's kind of my DCA now. So in a sense, it worked out really well because at that point, I wasn't paying any electrical out of pocket back then because I wasn't mining at all, right, during those times. So I bought pretty aggressively. So now I have those bags, and now what I am mining now, I am all my electrical, I'm paying out of pocket. So therefore, I am kind of DCAing, right? In a sense, if you really think about it, especially if you're paying your electrical out of pocket, mining is just like a forced DCA, right? You're essentially just converting your energy into the coin, right? So people have different strategies with that. I'm not going to really go into it. That's just my personal strategy. I'm just trying to hold as much as I can. Am I selling some? Did sell a little bit, right, on these pumps, especially with like CKB when it hit that 0.006. I did sell a little bit, not a lot, right? Just like 10%, just same thing, kind of just swing trading certain things. But again, I'm not doing that with every project, right? And a lot of my bigger caps that I did buy super cheap then, I did take some profits on, right? Some of them have 3x since then. I'm not taking a whole lot. I'm not like selling a half the bag. I'm taking like 10, 15%. Like I'm about to do another shave here probably in the coming weeks, right? Probably in a week or two. I'm just waiting for E to see if it hits like 23, 2500. If it hits those ranges, I'm going to shave off another 10, 15, maybe 20%, right? So there's certain ones I have my eyes on, but my smaller cap coins like Caspa, those I'm going to be holding, right? Because I did consolidate some of my GPU mineable coins because I did buy a little bag of Radiant, bought that little bag of Caspa. I did sell my Radiant back at like half of what it is now, which is fine though, because again, I had a plan in place. Like this is a big thing I will harp on is get your plans going. Get plans in place, do your scenarios. Okay, what if the price hits this? What if the price does this? What if it goes down to this? What are you going to do? Are you going to buy? Are you going to buy aggressively? Are you going to do 10%? Like start kind of playing with those scenarios, set those accumulation goals, right? The reason I was okay with selling my RXD, even though since then it almost tripled, right? But I'm okay. I got a 12x out of it. I'm more than okay, right? Not that I put that much in there either. I only put like 150 bucks in there. Same with when I bought my Casper bag. It was only a couple $100. But it turned out to be a good investment, right? But now the plan is to take that money and I'm just hanging on to it, either waiting for dips in the future or I may just use it to pay off some of this hardware, right? I did buy a couple FPGAs and I'm waiting to see what I do with it, right? So for now, it's just sitting there because ideally, again, for me, I'm waiting for a dip. I'm hoping we get one either sometime this summer, maybe not till this winter, and maybe it never comes, right? And I'm perfectly okay with that. Okay, right now I'm just kind of trying to see where the game is going, what coins are looking more hot, which ones aren't looking so hot, maybe which ones I can like trade out of a little bit. Trying to consolidate a little bit because I did also have to rebalance my portfolio because certain things skyrocketed and other things really didn't, right? Like right now, my mining coins, a lot of them did really well, especially the ones I bought during the time when I wasn't mining. Those really threw my portfolio out of whack. Caspa is now, I think it's like my second biggest bag, period, which it went from being only a couple $100 to now one of the biggest bags in my portfolio. So that's part of the reason also I wanted to sell that RXD. It's because I'm committed on which out of those smaller projects is going to be the bigger winner. And for me personally, it's Caspa, right? But these other coins are definitely proving themselves, right? We look at Radiant, for example. It did go down a little bit because people took profits. But at this point, even from the point where I sold it at, it was down here. It was at point like 3.3 or 3.5, somewhere in that range. And it almost tripled after that, right? So it does give a lot of credibility that Radiant can do something, right? Even right now, it's at number 580. Same with Nexa. Nexa, I bought in kind of late. I still do have a little bag, but I bought it it's at 26 right now. I bought it at a little over, like when it was over 1, right? So I've done about a 2.5x. Gonna hang on to it, just see if it goes up higher. We'll see. But again, out of these smaller coins, to me, the clear winner is Caspa. For any of you guys who watched my videos way back when I first started, back in November, I did mention things I was looking at and my strategies, right? And so far, I've learned that those have done well, so I'm going to continue to do that, right? Because again, the only small, like micro cap coins that I'm doing at all are GPU mineable coins, right? Mainly because of that community factor, right? So as these coins come out and it looks like they're at least legit, I'll buy a little bag. I'll do the same exact strategy, right? Dynex, I bought a little bit a month ago. Elefium, I bought a little bit at the beginning of the year. And then also now with this other one, Chlor. Not buying a whole bunch, not buying like, dropping thousands in there. Like when Chlor, about a month ago, when I first saw it on TXBit, I bought like 50 bucks worth, right? I might buy another 100 bucks worth now. And then a month later, I might buy another 100 bucks worth. Maybe it turns into something, maybe it doesn't, right? But for a couple $100, being like 0.005% of my portfolio, who cares? If I lose it, oh well, it was worth the risk, right? So those are things to look at. So overall, accumulation-wise, it's pretty much just what I've been getting from my miners, which is my KA3, the K7, and now this handshake miner, right? Which ended up getting way later than I was hoping. But it is what it is. Hopefully it's still going to be profitable. We'll see. We'll see how that one plays out. But again, that was my DGen play. We'll see how it pans out. As long as it's at least break even, I'm all right with it, right? So again, those prices have gone up, and for me, it's just too high from where I DCA'd in at for me to go, right? Realistically, again, I am anticipating a possible, doesn't even necessarily have to be a dump, but at least somewhat of a correction to go down to the maybe 2 cent range, 2.5 cent range, somewhere around there. If it goes down to 2.5 cents, I'll buy a little bit. If it goes down to 2 cents, I'll buy a little bit more. Anything under that, I'll buy even more, right? At this point, it's looking really good, right? So that's been my strategy. So far on actually buying coins, not really, right? So again, I am kind of holding out for that dump. Will we ever get it? Who knows, right? And again, I'll reassess in 3 more months. Once we hit that summer time frame, I'll get an idea, right? If there is no dump, there is no recession, the stock market is zooming, then at that point, maybe I will just DCA a little bit, right? Because right now I'm at the point where Gonna do one more round of profit taking here in a couple weeks. Again, I'm just kind of waiting on that ETH price. The ETH is the main one that I'm gonna probably try to liquidate a little bit. I'm not gonna do the whole thing, but maybe just another like 20% or so. And just to have money on the sidelines in case we do have a dump, right? Again, it may not come, it may, we'll see, right? But it's a risk we're taking, because again, that was another thing I did harp on in that video, is to kind of trust your gut. And that's one of my gut calls. Everything mentally is telling me like, nope, we're going up, we're going, especially like looking at everything, everybody's so excited. But deep down in my gut is telling me, right? Sometime this summer, maybe not till the winter, but that we are going to go down. May not go down to like, Bitcoin down to like 15 or anything, but maybe it goes down to 20, which again will bring everything else down with it, right? So time will tell on that front. So still kind of holding out there, but I am just trying to pay. Well, we'll see. Next month I'll finally get my full electric bill and we'll see how much. But I'm going to try to pay, or at least pay probably almost all of it out of pocket. I might sell a little bit if there's pumps here and there, but for the most part, that's the strategy there, right? So now the next part is how the ASICs are doing, right? When I had done that goals video, they were still pre-ordered. We had just found out that they got delayed. So now here we are. I do have all three of them now. And they're doing better than what I was expecting, right? Again, my predictions, my whole philosophy, I try to look at everything worst case scenario, and it's definitely doing better than what I was expecting, right? The KA3 currently at the 10-cent kilowatt hour, which I just noticed actually, by the way, that they did update Mind the ASIC, and this is a feature I've been wanting for the longest, is they are now putting your yield. That is pretty cool. I'm just now noticing that. So the KA3, you're getting about 17 Cadena, which is accurate. That's about what I'm getting right now. So profit-wise, it's about 1082 a day, which is not bad. And then CKB is about $8.36 a day, which isn't bad. And the HS3 is higher up, but again, this is going to change drastically in a couple of weeks. Right? This is another one. Again, if it looks appealing, may look appealing here, but you have to research. You have to look at it, because this is going to go from 11 bucks down to way less, right? If your income is 16 bucks, it's going to go down to 8 minus your 5, so it's going to go down to $3 profit, right? In a couple of weeks here. So keep that in mind, and potentially lower as the difficulty goes up, right? So things you got to look at if you're looking into buying an ASIC, but so far those are doing pretty well. The main mystery, though, as most of you know, and most of my videos harped on the past few months, is predictions for the hash rate, right? And this is kind of another thing I am kind of excited about, because it looks like we did finally find, not necessarily a peak, but it looks like we finally found a point where we're kind of stabilizing, right? We obviously just were up and to the right only for the longest, but it's been about a month now, since about mid-March. My yield has been about the same. It's been between like 16.8 to 17.5 consistently for about a month now, right? Is this all that it's going to go up? No, right? But the majority of the early pre-orders, those of you who ordered September, October, November, December, most of those should already be shipped. If any of you guys have ordered a KA3 and have not gotten yours yet, please comment. Let us know if you haven't gotten it, who you ordered from, and if you have any expected dates, right? Because for the most part, even looking on like Telegram vendors, a lot of them, it looks like they do have them readily available now. They are taking pre-orders all the way through May, though. So this isn't going to be the end of it. We'll potentially still get another little, maybe like 15-20% jump, and then it'll probably stabilize, only because it's still so expensive. These vendors aren't really lowering their prices much. They're still in that like $8,000 range, right? And it doesn't seem like they're budging much, maybe because they're just not really manufacturing many more. Okay, at least for now, right? If we get any Cadena price action where we're going up, then expect Bitmain, because I'm sure they have a whole stock of them, right? But I'm sure they're going to wait for a pump. Okay, so don't be too surprised to see if Cadena does have a pump to like $1.50 or $2 to see another batch randomly release, right? Don't be too surprised on that end, because that probably will happen. But on the plus side, this is the benefit if we stay with crappy price action, is that these are going to get less and less appealing, right? Meaning hopefully the hash rate doesn't go up as significantly. Okay, and it's been almost the exact same story with CKB. Seems like they shipped around the same time frame, and it's been about the same thing. It's been about a month now, and same thing. My yield has pretty much leveled off. It's been leveled off for like 3 weeks or so, right? So it's kind of the same issue there. We finally found that medium, but again, this is not the end of it. There are still more that are going to be coming out. They're going to continue to release them. We'll see how many more though, right? Because I think the majority of the people who ordered later, who ordered, let's say, February, March, paid a significant amount more for them, right? And those prices are still inflated comparing to what those of us who ordered really early got them for, right? Like my KA3, I got it at like 5,700, and the Nervos Minor after that coupon thing, it came out to like 4,200 bucks, right? Which is a pretty big difference from where it's at now, right? It's a lot less appealing when vendors are selling them for like, $6,000, $7,000, right? So time will tell on that front. I wouldn't be surprised to see Bitmain do another couple of shipments, right? Especially we'll keep our eyes peeled, see what they do there. But for now, at least, I can start at least starting to set like projections. This is kind of what I've been waiting for it to level off, so that way I could start doing like actual projections and set goals as far as like accumulation goals. Like, okay, now I'm earning this amount. Let's say the hash rate goes up 6% every month. Let's set goals now for the end of the year. Like, what is my accumulation goal? So that way, let's see how realistic it is if, by doing it purely through mining, am I going to DCA a bit? We're seeing price action now. Like, I'm going to have to just reassess, right? That way I can set up those goals and possibly DCA more. We'll see how that goes, right? So it's a constant reassessment. For the handshake miner, it's hard. It seems like they really did not make very many of them, right? So it's really hard to tell. I know this batch really just got shipped last week, this latest batch. We'll see how many more, right? The ones have been kind of iffy because they did release that bigger batch early, like the end of January, right? And that was this initial hit, but it has been pretty much not a whole lot since then. Ultimately, we'll see how high it goes, right? So the other thing hardware-wise, which was not on the radar, not on the plans, I did end up buying 2 FPGAs, one being just the E100, not the whole big guy. They did release a single board. I did pick one up when this one first released. I got one that first day. It was at 1,800 bucks, right? Which is a little bit cheaper there, but the biggest difference is just the timeline. And that's why I mentioned with that other one, or realistically any of these, whether you're looking at FPGAs, any of these other ASICs coming out, is if you're interested in it, you're going to want to get in early because, again, the longer you wait, the longer you're going to have to wait for them, right? So like these now, for example, if you were to order one, you're not going to get it till the end of May. And that's like best case scenario, right? So realistically, possibly expected June or later, depending if there's any issues or any delays or anything else going on. And right now, especially with the way the gas by hash rate's going, you need to get these things the quickest as you can, right? So hopefully, though, the promise here, not necessarily the promise, but the hope here is, right, try to get as much CASP as you can, but hopefully they make Bitstreams publicly available for RXD and Ergo, right? We already pretty much know that they're around, right? People have Bitstreams to them, but the only help with these is for them to be publicly available. And then that would definitely make these more worthwhile. That's why I kind of jumped into this one and also the Molt Miner. Okay, same thing here. If you got in early, you were able to get in early. So like, as soon as I saw about it, I posted up about it, and I did purchase one, and it should be shipping here in the next few weeks. Versus if you order now, this is for an end of May batch for June delivery, right? So keep in mind how many months you're losing because you're waiting on things. Again, and it's not just going to be specific to these things. It'll be FPGAs, it'll be ASICs, these upcoming Caspa ASICs, upcoming RXD things, anything, right? Regardless of what project you're looking at, the earlier you are, the more beneficial it is, right? Typically, it's cheaper prices and getting them in hand faster, right? You want to be able to get it soon before the hash rate and the difficulty goes up so you can accrue as much as possible so you can make the most of your investment, right? Because that's going to be the same thing here. So you want to get it ASAP, get as much CASP as you can, and then hopefully other Bitstreams become available. And the only reason I kind of decided to do FPGAs period is just because of the amount of coins that are currently popping right now that look like they're going to do fairly well in the bull market are going to go the FPGA route, being FPGAs and then ASICs, right? Currently it's Caspa, RXD is rumored and it's pretty much going to happen. The question is whether they're made available, to example, for this guy, or if we're gonna have to, flash it or hack it or do something to it to get it to run on these guys. But if those bit streams are publicly available by some of the devs, by like Team Red Miner, or if these guys make their own in-house one, which is also possible, because again, that's gonna benefit them, because they'll be able to continue selling this older hardware because it's still gonna be profitable, right? At least until those ASICs come out, right? Because we know for RXD, it's almost a given that it's going to go FPGA. Lithium, there's already bit streams out there for. Ergo has been rumored for the longest, and time will tell if it pans out, right? But again, if you're looking at these guys, that's kind of the play, right? Hopefully you get it now, get as much CASP as you can, and then hopefully they do release these other bit streams for these other coins that are fairly profitable, right? But again, being early is key. But also, you have to be smart about it. Okay, unfortunately, with all this hype going on, there is going to be scams. Okay, so research it, look at who you're buying from. Like, for example, when these came out, I saw that Coastal Crypto was selling them. That is somebody who I would trust, somebody that I know is in the game. They have active communication with their vendors, the distributors, and they're trustworthy, right? So that's why when they released it, I was comfortable purchasing through them, right? Gonna talk about this other one real quick. I'm not gonna make a video. I'm not gonna really discuss it much because, again, it's very, very extremely risky because of the high cost and the fact that we don't know if it's real, right? I'm not gonna make content on it because there's a bunch of videos on it. RPM had a really good deep dive into it, into the theoreticals if it's possible. The thing is, for me, too many red flags, right? I contemplated this cheaper guy because at $1,700, that's pretty much what I sold my radium bag for. So the mindset was like, if I lose it, it was $150, right? But there's just too many red flags with this thing, right? It could be real, right? But it's just too many red flags. And then also keep in mind like how long of a wait it's going to be. Okay, again, shipping date isn't going to be till mid-June to June 30th for something that may not even be real, because again, it's only like bank wires and then paying through crypto, which are two permanent things. If you send it and it's a scam, you're done, right? So we don't know. There's a lot of evidence both ways. We don't know, even if they do release a working product, like Panda's supposed to get one, even if he does get a working one, who knows if you get this on time, even if it is real, right? Because it's going to make more sense for them to hang on to them and just mine on them, which is, I'm sure, what they're doing now, right? We all saw that crazy hash rate increase, and the assumption is that it's possibly these. But why aren't they shipping until June, right? They're probably mining on them. They're pulling a Bitmain, and they're going to hang on to them, mine on them, dump the market, and then maybe sell them, right? Who knows? It's all theoretical. But to me, just too many red flags, right? At this point, it's too much of a toss-up. We'll see. Time will tell on this one. By the time I do the next video, we would have hopefully found out if this is a scam or not. Again, could be completely real. To me, it is not worth the risk, though, right? Because at that point, if they are real, and let's say they flood the market, then again, it's going to be an ASIC. You're only going to be able to mine that period, right? Versus the FPGA. Hopefully, you do get other bit streams, and you move on, right? So time will tell on that front. But again, do your research, look at different things, and use your common sense, right? This is a pre-order that's 2 months out from a company nobody's ever heard of, nobody's ever heard anything of. Too many red flags, right? Again, none of this is financial advice. You do you, but too many red flags. Some people were throwing red flags on just because of how like efficient it is, how good it is. Theoretically, it's possible that it can do that, right? And the expectation realistically, once one of these bigger manufacturers with, let's say, up-to-date chips releases one, expect it to be even higher. That's another thing you got to factor in, that even if this guy is real, by the time you get it in July, there's a possibility that, Gold Shell or Ivy Link may also release one in that time frame, right? Which may be even more significantly powerful than this guy, rendering this guy possibly not necessarily obsolete, but nowhere near as efficient as these others, right? Because again, that's the main difference we've learned from the ASIC manufacturers, is that depending on the quality of the chip is everything, right? The nanometer size of it, who has access to them, which typically these smaller shops will not. That's why, like, if Bitmain were to release one on like a 5 nanometer node, it's probably going to blow this thing out of the water, because this is probably like either a 8 or 12 millimeter or possibly even bigger, right? We don't know. There's no details on it. But just because everybody saw the statistics, everybody's like, oh man, that's huge. But I mean, even just an easy reference is going back to this Molt miner, right? Looking at the Kadena hash rate, because this is around the time before the gold shell ASICs came out, and this looked impressive. But if we compare it now to the current tech, it's garbage. It's literally it's like a 1300x comparing it to like a KE3, right? 1,300 times, which is crazy. So that is something, a factor, that it is possible to have these kind of stats, right? But again, there's a lot of risk. There's a lot can happen between now and then, right? Don't be too surprised to see Gold Shell or Ivy Link. It may not release by then, right? But maybe there's an announcement right before these are supposed to ship, just to mess everybody up and be like, okay, they're going to ship in 2 months. But at least from Gold Shell or Ivy Link or one of those distributors, at least it's a much more trusted avenue to go through than this company nobody's ever heard of, right? So again, just something to think about, something to factor in. And this isn't going to be the last of them, right? We're going to see more of these. And eventually when, RXD goes ASIC or Nexa goes ASIC, you're going to see these things as well. So the same things, the principles you're learning here, apply them to when those things come out, right? Again, you want to go through more of a trusted vendor. That's why I know I harp on it, but like the ones I use are like BT Miners, Coastal Crypto, because you have more trust in them, right? So just some things to consider for not only these, but any of the ones that come out in the future. Because again, these, I guarantee you, will not be the last, right? All right, so let's switch gears. Let's go to the GPU world. So the update, the big thing we're waiting, and I had mentioned back then, is the release of this guy. And then next month, we'll get the 4060 Ti, which these are the two I was mainly waiting for, to see if potentially we get either some kind of price action with the GPUs. Either they dip or they go up. We'll see. But so far, they're staying the same, right? Reason being is that these things are freaking expensive. $600. And they didn't sell out, which is saying a lot, right? Especially considering like the 4090. Although it was kind of available to get ever since release, it's been trickling out in supply. It's been kind of difficult, right? Especially in comparison to like other releases. But overall, right now, they are available, meaning that it didn't sell super cheap, meaning people don't find it as necessarily the best value or a good enough reason for them to upgrade, right? Potentially because they're waiting for that 4060 Ti, just because there's different rumors going on with it. Even though they've said it's 8 gigs, the rumor mill's starting to start up that it may go up to 12 gigs just because of all the backlash with the 8 gig cards. So it's still a possibility that the 4060 Ti may get switched to 12 gigs and then the 4060 be 8 gigs. Time will tell on that front, but that also could impact prices, right? But overall, realistically, I don't think we're going to get a GPU price dump. I think realistically it's just going to kind of continue with the price range that it is, right? Maybe not happen until freaking next gen, not until the following year. So for me, again, I'm still kind of really on the sidelines as far as buying new. The only thing I would consider maybe are like the 4090s, maybe the 4080s if the prices go down more, and essentially just trading in, right? If I don't sell my GPUs outright, depending on the algos that I'm looking at, I may just sell those just to buy, well, let's say a 4090 or something, right? Just depending on, at this point, we're not halfway through the year, but we're close enough. By probably the end of summer, we'll have an idea what's going to come out in the fall, right? Whether it's going to be a 4090 Ti or a 5090, we'll see. And then at that point, I may jump in only because it'll be closer, right? Because, for example, the 4090s, they are available. One place, if you are looking, I've been eyeing, is StockX. They've consistently had different models at 1500 or less, right? Looking at this Gigabyte model, there was one that actually sold at 1300, right? 1360, but there are some available even at 1500. So it's one I would kind of think about, but just not really. Just I'm not also fully sold on GPUs yet. As far as being fully viable, only again because of the ones that are most profitable right now are all eventually going to go FPGA and then ASIC, right? Realistically, though, we should have a good amount of time, especially with like RxD and Nexa, but time will tell. We don't really know how fast these bit streams will come out and then what happens, right? But the one thing I am looking forward to, because there are quite a few changes coming in, are zero knowledge proofs, right? Specifically, right now, the first one that's going to be on mainnet is going to be Ironfish, and it's one I have been talking about since last November. It's one I'm super excited about. I know there's been a lot of people having issues kind of with the tokenomics because of the team and the having so many of the tokens, but for me, that was kind of expected. This is borderline like a VC coin, right? If you look at who invested in it, you'll see why I say that. But that's also part of the reason that I am bullish on it, right? VCs invest in it. That does even remotely somewhat well if they deliver on what they're saying. Not financial advice, but I see it doing well in the bull market because of that. I know to some people that's a turnoff, right? In terms of decentralization and not wanting to have anything to do with that. I understand that, and that's going to turn a lot of people off. But for me, that's actually what made it appealing, right? Because again, referencing last bull market, my biggest success, even while mining, the coins that did the best for me were those VC coins, right? Again, everybody has their own strategy, different things they look at. But for me, this is one I'm looking at big time, only because to me, this is also going to be a big narrative. I know everybody's big into AI just because of what's been going on, and I think that also will be a big narrative, but I think zero knowledge proofs and then ZK rollups are going to be a big thing. And those are two different things. A lot of people are kind of interchanging them. They're not really like doing their research on what zero knowledge proofs are. But if you haven't yet, I would recommend doing a deep dive into them because it's a very interesting technology. And it's kind of what it's going to bring, blockchain and crypto into like the corporate level, right? Being that privacy layer is what corporations are going to want. They're not going to want to put their financials on the blockchain where anybody can see. They need privacy, right? And this is going to be the beginning of it, especially for things like Web3 and just a different lot of authentication things. Very, very exciting technology. And the fact that these proofs are currently at least GPU mineable, right? So Ironfish as a whole, it's going to be, I think it's that Blake 3 algorithm, but it is going to be mineable. Mainnet is in a couple of days. And again, it's one I'm personally excited for. Hopefully, a lot of people get turned off by all the other factors and they stay where they're at. And the hash rate stays low, at least for now. That we can get a little bag. Time will tell. But it is one to look into if you haven't yet. Again, none of this is financial advice. It's just one that I've had my eye on just because of who invested in it. Like, that was my initial turn on. And doing a deeper dive into it, definitely bullish on Ironfish. We'll see what it turns into. Another thing to keep in mind are just the pools that are getting ready for it, right? If you look at what's going on in the background, I'm not the only one excited for it. There's a lot of people did participate in the test net. A lot of the big pools are also going to have their pools ready. They had it ready for the previous date, right? But it got delayed. But now they're ready now. So like Hero Miners, Flex Pool, Cryptix, Easel, DX Pool looks like they're going to have a pool. I believe F2 Pool looks like it was going to have a pool as well. So pretty exciting stuff. We'll see how it pans out though, but it's definitely one that on day one, I will definitely be on there, right? At least accruing it now, especially before it hits the actual market. Because again, these are the type of things if you're interested in, you want to get in early. But again, if you guys haven't researched ZK proofs, look into it. Pretty interesting stuff, and I think that's going to be a big narrative in the coming bull market, right? So another big narrative for the GPU world is kind of going along with ZK proofs. Another big project that is still testnet, that is going to go mainnet, I think sometime this year, is Aleo, right? Other things to keep your eye on in this genre, just mainly because of also all this AI stuff, is things that are going to be using like proof of useful work, right? So like Flux, hopefully, I think, last I heard, I think it's Q3 is when they were supposed to release. But other projects like Dynex, things of that sort, anything that's going to be using, rentable like compute power essentially, right? That it is going to definitely be a big thing just because of all this AI hype that's going on, and it's been crazy, right? And I think that's part of the reason that like Render has been doing so well, and these other projects are going to do well, right? We've seen that there's a huge demand, there's going to be a huge need. Hopefully they are able to find a way where, people on these rigs, like our rigs, maybe like 8 gigs, maybe 3000 series cards can be used for that, right? Right now, part of the issue is that it's primarily ran on like these industrial, data center type of GPUs. So like those Hopper H100s, those A100s, that's what they're using for the compute power. Hopefully these guys can make it to the point so we can, push all of our GPUs to be able to be used for this, but time will tell on that front. But hopefully the leader may be Flux in that department, right? We'll see what happens when it releases. We'll see. A lot coming in the pipeline, a lot of changes coming, right? Things we got to be ready for, because it's not going to be, we're not going to be able to use our 1x little risers. We're going to have to, look for motherboards that support multiple like 8x, 12x, 16x slots. We're going to have to see, right? We're going to have to see what people come up with. Like Octominer, for example, is supposed to release some kind of server case. I believe iPolo even had something in the pipeline as well, specifically for this, because they know this is going to be another big revenue stream for all of us with GPUs, right? But we are going to have to possibly adapt. That's why it helps to stay ahead of the game, so you can see these things coming, right? As that hardware gets released, maybe right now when it's early is the time to scoop it up, right? Because again, if this thing does take off 12 months from now, those same things are going to be hard to get, cost a whole lot more if it's something you're looking at, right? So does that mean that when, that Octominer thing drops for like $2,000, am I going to hop all in? No, but I'm going to keep my eyes on it. If the price is good and it looks like this is going to take off, then it might be something to look into. But as of now, not so much, right? Especially with like Flux's token value and comparing it to how much it is right now mining it. It's hard to say where it's really going to go, right? We have to kind of see what these other projects do. We'll see how like Aleo does, how Ironfish does, this guy does. We'll see how Dynex does. We'll see how this other one, Chlor, does. We'll see how Render does. We'll see how popular they get. And that's going to kind of tell us if it's going to be doable, if it's going to be something that's worthwhile. Because it's going to happen. It's here, it's coming. But we have to see if it's going to be worth the investment in it now. Or if it might be worthwhile to wait. Or if we find out that, okay, we need, we can only run it on 16x slots. But we bought this motherboard that only has these 8x slots. Like, we kind of have to wait to see what our parameters are going to be, what the requirements are going to be, and what we're going to need to buy in order to participate in these networks, right? And especially seeing who wins. Right now, we're super early. We don't know which one's going to do well. We don't even know if the Flux one's going to do well, right? Realistically, to me, they're the one that's farthest ahead. They're already kind of, this is part of their genre. So to me, that's the one I would be the most hopeful for, right? As far as providing a good working product, just because of their track history, right? But these are all definitely things to consider, and that's part of the reason, that's actually the big part of the reason that I'm not so bullish on like GPU mining right now, or at least as far as buying more hardware, right? Like even what I do have right now, again, I'm going to be in this Ironfish mainnet when it launches, but who knows for how long, right? Because realistically, I am potentially eyeing on selling my GPUs, right? Depending on what algos I decide to do. Like if I decide to stay there, it might be more worth it for me to sell, 4 of my 3060 Ti's and just get a 4090, right? Because you kind of have to see what algorithms are going to be there, because it's different, right? A 4090 is awesome on like Caspa and RxD on these core intensive ones, right? But when you put it on like something that's more, or let's say like a 4070 Ti, they do awesome on those coins, but then you put them on a more memory intensive algorithm like on Ergo or Flux, it's not necessarily the best, right? Efficiency it is, right? I think the 4070 Ti is actually one of the most efficient for Flux, but it's not going to net you as much, right? You have to kind of look at different things, see what algorithms works best for what you think is going to be here for the bull market, right? Realistically, for GPUs, I'm not fully convinced on what's going to be more beneficial. Like, should I keep on my 3000 series cards? Should I sell them and get 4000 series cards? Or should I wait another year and get, 4000 series cards once they're a year old, get them on the used market for cheaper? That might be the better play. I'm not sure yet. I'm not fully convinced. Like when I bought my ASICs, I did my research, I did my thing, and I was convinced that that was the route for me to go, right? That's, again, not recommending for you guys to do anything. This is just my research and just kind of sharing what I'm seeing, right? Not recommending, not shilling for you guys do this, do that. These are just what I'm doing. Maybe to give you some ideas, maybe what your ideas are better. Nobody's wrong or right here in any of these things. Everybody has their own opinions. Some will work, some won't. But it is good to hear different opinions, different insights, just so you can kind of compare, like, oh, okay, I like what he's doing. I don't believe in that one. I'm definitely staying away from there, right? Just so you can come to your own conclusion, right? Because at the end of the day, all these plannings, all these goals, it's all your thing, right? But it definitely, at least for me, has helped a ton to set up these goals because it takes a lot of the emotion out, right? The problem when you don't, when you're kind of just winging it, is you get that FOMO feeling. And I've been feeling that FOMO feeling hard lately, right? Seeing all the price action of these coins, seeing GPU prices go, GPU mining coin prices go through the roof. It's like it makes you super bullish on it, right? But you have to have plans to kind of put everything in place and look for things in the future. Position yourself so you are ready for the future. Everything in my mind is setting up for that bull market, right? It is tempting right now, especially like considering how much my Casper bag has gone up. So just dump it on out and take those profits. But I have my sights more set on the bull market, right? So I know it's a long one, a lot of stuff to talk about, but there is a lot of stuff coming in the pipeline. I know people have been like, oh, it hasn't been very exciting. To me, these past 3 months, 6 months have been some of the most exciting times for crypto mining in general, right? Maybe not just GPU mining, but like mining as a whole. Between ASICs, between what's going on here, these, DPIN networks, so like Helium and Dymo and HiveMapper and all these things. Pretty cool to see what's going on, right? A lot of stuff going on, a lot of stuff happening. We'll see. We'll see what happens in these next 3 months when I do another quarterly update, right? All right, guys. I know it was a long one, but just wanted to discuss these things. Wanted to share what's on my mind, what I'm looking forward to, goals that I'm setting, and just things to take into account, right? So please comment, like, and subscribe, guys. Again, thank you for watching, and I am out.